Hello, planet Earth. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. We're at IDK, my BFF Jill 730. I'm Personnel Young, wishing you warm salutations and congratulations because you've made your way to the Buffington Post. Today we are going to take a break from Buffy and start reviewing Game of Thrones Season 5 today. I know I'm super late, like a week, but I had to get my Time of Your Life videos out, but hopefully this will be up before episode 2 begins. Now, just to preface, I'm a book reader, and I can't really help talking about the differences between the books and the show, so if you don't read the books, go away, because it's going to be kind of spoilerific. And if you don't mind, then stay with us, yay. And also, just to preface, I have not watched the leaked episodes. Episodes 1 through 4 have been leaked. I've only seen number 1. I don't believe in stealing. So, here we go. It's Game of Thrones Season 5, Episode 1, recap and review. This is for The Wars to Come. And this is an episode that is very much about the future.
It's time to play Family Feud!
Now, right off the bat, I figured the most telltale sign was, of course, in the opening, there is no Land of Always Winter. We knew that Bran and Hodor and Mira and Jojen were not going to be appearing in Season 5, and this is just kind of a nail in the coffin. As soon as we get to the wall, they're like, oh, no, right back down to the south. So, yeah, we open, of course, with the Maggie the Frog prophecy with Cersei, and her name escapes me, the little girl that went down there with her, but what really stuck to me was that she said, you don't need to be afraid of my father. Now, book readers, we know that this girl ends up in a well, and it's kind of inconclusive as to whether or not Cersei actually threw her down in the well so that she wouldn't tell anybody about her future prophecies, or if, you know, something bad just happened to her. Either way, this girl ends up in a well. Cersei, of course, goes to Maggie the Frog, who is not ugly, but okay, and, you know, she's like, tell me my future, and then the bloodletting, and of course, you know, there's the prophecy about the king, and, you know, 20 children, 16 children, whatever, we'll take it. The prophecy about the queen to throw her down. Now, of course, you know, we're led to believe that this is going to be Daenerys, but honestly, my thought is that it will be Sansa, because if you watched my crackpot theory about the Seven, I do believe that when all is said and done, there will be kind of a new Seven out there in the world, and I think Sansa will be our maid. And she really is the most powerful person on paper in all of Westeros right now, because if the lords in the north knew that she were alive, then they would all rally around her. And so I'm really interested to see how we're going to deal with that. But anyway, we learn about, you know, Cersei's children are all going to die, question mark. You know, gold will be their crowns and gold will be their shrouds. We are going to be picking up with Myrcella later in the season, so we'll see how that goes along in Dorne. So then, of course, we are with Cersei in the present day. She's climbing the steps of the Sept of Baelor. Boom. And, yeah, the thing that really struck me about this was, yeah, first of all, the Sept of Baelor is gorgeous. I can't recall exactly what location they used for that, but it is beautiful. And as Cersei is climbing the stairs, all I could think about was Littlefinger's talk about the climb, back in season 2, question mark? I think it was 2. But anyway, yeah, I was just really struck by that because, you know, here she is climbing up these stairs, and it is this chaos that Littlefinger thrives in, and Cersei is kind of just adrift in this sea of what the fuck. So, yeah. Ugh, the eyes, the stones on the eyes, I don't know why they're bringing in this, you know, Greek stuff, but it's creepy. I don't like the eyes. And then, they kind of skipped the part where, Tywin's body stinks up the whole sept, but it's fine, it's fine. So, Cersei is doing this thing to Jaime where she's the crow calling the raven black, talking about, oh, you just run into things, which is like, come on, Cersei, you're pretty guilty of that yourself. But the underlying theme is that Cersei never got her father's approval. You know, Tyrion was made Hand of the King because her father didn't really trust Cersei and Joffrey to rule. And then, you know, Jaime was always the golden child. Tywin really wanted him to take the seat of House Lannister and rule over the Westerlands, but that all went to hell. And so now Cersei is left. She was the only girl, and she was the only one who felt like she deserved this power the whole time, and she never got her father's approval, and she's just lashing out at Jaime because she doesn't have a penis, basically. So, okay, then we pick up with Tyrion, and The only thing that I really didn't like about the change from him being in a cask to being in a box was that when we saw through the little hole that Tyrion was looking through, I just was expecting him to start rolling. I was really expecting that because, he's in the book, he's thrown around, he's rolled around in this wine cask, and it's really funny. So that was the only thing I missed. I totally expected him to start rolling, but he didn't. And then I'm wondering, with this change of having Varys there and them being in Pentos, are they going to bring Penny in? Because Penny, she was really only in the 5th book, and we don't really know exactly how things are going to follow through with that character and Tyrion and their relationship. Tyrion is talking about how he's no longer a lord, and the thing to keep in mind is that Tyrion, had he not committed patricide, he definitely would have inherited the Westerlands. He would have inherited Casterly Rock and been the Lord of Casterly Rock. And technically, he's the Lord of Winterfell because he's married to Sansa. So that's a problem for him. He killed his father and now he can't really, claim any of this stuff that's technically his. And then, like I said, this episode's very much about the future, and here we have Tyrion talking about the future just as Cersei did, but he's saying that the future is shit. So then we go to Meereen and we have the Unsullied, and we have not quite the Brazen Beasts. The Sons of the Harpy are wearing masks that look harpy-ish. So I think that's just a visual statement because we did just see the Harpy fall. I think that's just to let everybody who doesn't read the books know that, we're just going to be wearing the Harpy mask, and we're going to skip the whole Brazen Beasts who wear the different animal heads and things like that. So, did anybody else notice that the Unsullied's helmet masks look kind of like Shredder helmets from Ninja Turtles? I thought it was funny. They are postponing this whole explanation of the brothel thing, like when, Stalwart Shield in the books was, slain in the brothel. They pretty much reveal, why the Unsullied would go to brothels right off the bat. It wasn't really a mystery at all. And so I think they're really just postponing this to, stretch out that relationship that they've manufactured between Missandei and Grey Worm. Speaking of Missandei, the way that they really flushed out her character and given her, this relationship with Grey Worm and made her own three-dimensional character apart from being Dany's friend, it really makes me wonder about the endgame and how much of what we are expecting to happen and what the books are going to happen. I know that we are now in, new terrain as far as the book readers. I'm just wondering how characters like Missandei, what their end game is going to be in the show as opposed to the book series. So, I don't know. So, we go up to the wall and we get all this Wall-y exposition between Sam and Gilly and, talking about Alistair Thorne and all this fun stuff. It's really just super exposition-y. This whole episode kind of was. And, Melisandre flirting with Jon, ooh, touch her smooth skin, say you want to jump in my bins? Whatever, girl. Brienne getting really down on herself because she had Arya in her grasp and she still has no clue where to look for Sansa. And then, of course, she's right there. The Maid of Tarth and the Maid of Winterfell are ships crossing in broad daylight. So, Sansa and Littlefinger are headed west. They've left the Vale and they are headed west. Now, the problem with this is everything is west of the Vale. Literally everything. So, I have a few theories about where they could be going. I personally think that they might be going to Harrenhal because, of course, Peter is the Lord of Harrenhal in name. So, that would be a nice place to revisit and maybe deal with things there. I mean, it's a great big fortress. You could hide out in there. I mean, I don't really know who's there right now. Vargo Hoat and all of his fun friends were kind of kicked out of there, so I don't really know what the deal is in Harrenhal at the moment, but he could also be taking her to Riverrun, because Jaime, it looks like, is not going to be going to Riverrun to deal with Edmure and all that fun, so maybe he will take Sansa to Riverrun, and Edmure will kind of help her to, do the damn thing. Maester Pycelle, it's always nice to see him. He says enough for Cersei to just bat him off. And then we get this intro to Lancel and his foray into the Sparrows. And he and Cersei have this interesting exchange. And she was like, I doubt you could ever persuade anybody or tempt anybody to do anything blase blase blase. And he's talking about the king and his regrets, and I'm wondering because, the sparrows, they like to confess their sins and things like this, so that's going to come back to bite Cersei. Yeah, we pick up with Loras and Marjorie, and they basically just are back and forth talking about the goings-on of King's Landing and the rumor mongers and all this fun. Marjorie, she was like, perhaps, and Loras was like, perhaps, and she goes, perhaps, talking about, whether or not, he will be in Highgarden or whether she will have to deal with Cersei. So I'm wondering if they're going to deviate from the books a little bit and actually have Marjorie team up with the Faith to take down Cersei. Really wondering about that. And we know that the Sand Snakes are going to be coming in to King's Landing, and I'm wondering if they may try and get close to Marjorie as well. So that remains to be seen. Back in Pentos, we see that hashtag twinsies as Varys and Tyrion are dressed in the same we look stupid outfit. Varys talks to Tyrion about how he does in fact have his father Tywin's instincts for politics and all this fun. It's really neat. But when I was making my 7 theory video, I didn't really think about Varys as the Smith, but if you think about it, he's really been building this whole thing since day one, so he could very well be our Smith at the very end. So then, okay, Hizdar and Dario come back, and they're talking about the pits, and the thing that really worries me about, the change in Dario and the change in all of these characters is not necessarily whitewashing the cast, but really whitewashing the East. There's no color. Dario is supposed to be this blue beard, like gold mustached guy, and, we don't really see all of the color and, just outrageousness, outlandishness that comes with the East. Like, it's a very rich, old culture, and it just seems like, a dirty Westeros. It doesn't seem to be very different from Westeros at the end of the day. It's very much whitewashed, and I don't like that aspect of the East in the show. When you're reading the books, everything is so colorful and different and big in the East. Whereas when you're watching it, it just, like I said, it just seems like an older, dirtier Westeros. The fighting pits, this whole argument that they're having about the fighting pits, they're really neglecting this idea of money, because Meereen, they don't have many things that they produce. They really don't. And the fighting pits bring in a lot of money for their economy. Vendors, everything, their hotels and everything just fill up when, the pits are in because people want to come and watch this. Ignoring the economic consequences of not having the pits is something that I hope they don't do forever. I hope they will say, hey, Dany, we need the money that the pits brings. And of course, Dany goes down into the catacombs, and Viserion and Rhaegal are not too happy to see her. They're like, bitch, you locked us up in here. Now we're angry. And Dany was really frightened by them. And this is something that, they hadn't previously explored. We know that she had been kind of afraid of herself when Drogon did the whole, eating children and things like this. But really, this is something new for the character. We've never seen her really be terrified of her own dragons. So, back at the wall, Mance and the whole, is it Mance? Okay, this is where we're deviating from the books a lot. I don't believe we've been introduced to Rattleshirt. I think Rattleshirt and Giantsbane are basically both being taken over by Giantsbane. So I don't know if Tormund will be Mance, and if Mance will have been Tormund, and the whole, magic, majigger. I don't know where they're going to go with this. I think they really did just kill Mance. I think that might be what they're doing. But I really hope not, because whatever. And of course, we do see Shireen, and I'm pretty sure Shireen is going to come into play at some point. Shireen is one of the more interesting elements out there in the world. She's not thoroughly explored, but I think that's with great purpose. And a lot of people theorize that Melisandre wants to, sacrifice Shireen, but I'm not so sure about that. I think she wants to use her for something else. So, apart from that, the only thing that I really liked about, that pyre scene was Stannis. Stannis at first, he didn't really like Melisandre's, theatrics, but when he's putting Mance to the pyre and he's lighting the flames, you can see that he really has come to enjoy the spectacle. He likes this whole, look at me, everybody look at me, I'm in charge, so here I am, watch. He's really come to enjoy this as much as Selyse does, and so that's something that I think is going to be really interesting for the character. That's pretty much all there was. Jon killed, is it Mance? And tonight we're going to see what the what is, except for you people who have already seen the first 4 episodes. So, I'm Personnel Young. You can come right back here to IDK, my BFF Jill 730, for Buffy the Vampire Slayer reviews, Angel and Faith reviews, Buffyverse discussions on the other Slayers, my continued coverage of Season 8, and hopefully more Game of Thrones reviews. I hope you're having a great 2015 so far, and we'll see you next time.